Hey, I'd just like to give you a quick overview of my buyer's guide. This is what I use to manage the home buying process and also to educate consumers along the way. You'll see there's 8 sections: property sheets, MLS sheets, and scorecards, the buyer brokerage agreement and the agency disclosure that goes with that, the various Georgia home disclosures, information on lenders that I've worked with, different home warranties that you might be interested or that may be offered, closed attorneys, their locations and their price sheets, various home inspections that you might want done, and some miscellaneous information. So let me go just with a quick overview. This is primarily how most of my work is done. It's mostly done by referral from people who've used me in the past. The other thing I like to do is go over, this is a process flow of the home buying process. So basically you can see, you make contact, you get pre-qualified. Most of the time I tell people, you don't spend any money between here and here, only until you get under contract do you go through the due diligence period. When you do that, some things like a home inspection will cost you money, and other things do not. Some inspections do, some inspections don't. But this is where it's critical when you really truly make the decision if you're going to buy the house. The other thing that's very important is there are 2 dependencies to buy a house. The property has to appraise the purchase price, and you also have to be underwritten. So the difference between pre-qualification and underwriting, the way I explain that is, pre-qualification is the lender believing that you're worth X amount of dollars to loan you for the house. Underwriting is them proving it. So preferably, I want this put up here, okay? Because when I make an offer on your behalf, you have much better guarantee of actually winning the deal. So if there's 3 offers and you're underwritten already, the other pre-qualifications may not be as strong. So here's a typical MLS sheet, has all the information on it. If we look at 5 homes today, I'll have 5 in order for you. And then on the back of the sheet, I have this scorecard. This tells me a lot about the people I'm working with, my clients. If they're quantitative, they might fill this out. If they're qualitative, they may not fill it out or just might scratch some notes in the corner. This becomes important if we end up looking at 5 properties today, 5 next week, maybe 5 the week after, and sometimes we look at so many, we really can get lost in the amount of properties. So this really does help me keep track of the chaos. This is the disclosure on what agency is in Georgia. This is the buyer brokerage agreement. These are all the Georgia disclosures except for some really long ones that run about 40 pages. I'll email those to people. But everything from buying, how to protect yourself from buying a home, to what to consider when you're buying a home in an HOA, to what you should know about if you're buying in a flood zone. There's others in there as well. This is my section on lenders, currently being updated. There's a couple great articles here on what to do and what not to do rather in the home buying process. Here's a estimate cost. Let me get back to the really interesting things too. So this is the home warranty information. These are the closing attorneys that I work with and their price sheets. These are home inspectors that I refer, different types of home inspections that can be done. Some information, some brochures on them, some pest control inspectors for termites and rodents. And the one other section that I think is really important that I have put together is, I'm working on updating this, and then this is a sample summary letter. So once we go into contract, I will summarize the entire contract in non-legal terms, non-legalese as I refer to it. And basically this gives you a written summary step by step of everything that needs to happen who the closing attorney is, what's their contact information, what are some of the other inspections that we've talked about that you've booked, what's the due diligence period, how to verify school districts, how to verify if you want a survey, what about the homeowners association, all of this stuff, recaps important dates. I find this letter to be extremely helpful with my clients, because what I say is, if you wake up at 3 in the morning and you have a question, there's a high level possibility that this letter answers that question. It's not reading a contract, which I find that some people get a little stressed when they're doing that. So this summarizes the whole entire contract. It summarizes the best practices that we've talked about. It's my playbook, basically. And what I'll say is, if you call me, or you can't call me at 3 a.m. because my phone will be off, but if you have a question, there's a good chance that it will be answered in here. This is a really good entire summary of what is occurring and what we're contractually bound to. And this really does help me manage that process. Then there's a few coupons in the back here for natural gas, maybe security, and then also a moving checklist. And this whole book helps me manage the process. There's a few gifts I put in the back here. These are tissues that are money, and it says, "You'll be saving so much money, you'll cry happy tears." So that in its entirety is my buyer's book. This is how I manage the process and educate my clients along the way. Thanks so much for listening.